Miniatures? Yeah, they're nice, but here's a cheaper, more convenient alternative. Stick around. Hey folks, old Man Grognard here, and I want to delve a little deeper into something that I've spoke about maybe in the past, or I've at least alluded to in the past. There's another video out there for organizing for conventions and things like that. So this is kind of I don't know, an appendix to it or something. I wanted to talk about miniatures in gamings and the alternative. Now, miniatures are nice. They're really nice, especially if you don't have to paint them. But one, they can get expensive, and two, I just don't have the time, or well, actually, I don't have the space to have a setup, and I hate setting up to paint for like an hour or two and then having to remove it because we're having dinner or whatever. I've got a table right here, but that seems to be taken up with other stuff, including grandkids. Anyway, but I do have my share of miniatures, and one of these days I'm going to find the time to paint them and use them. But until then, I have a preferred way of doing it, which is tokens. Now, tokens came on their own around 4th edition because that really, that's one of the few things that I liked about 4th edition. It brought the tokens to the fore, which is a nice cheaper alternative, and you can get all sorts of. They're still out there. Now watch this. This is one of the few 4th edition things I'm going to endorse because I got myself one. Look for this box, the Dungeons and Dragons Essentials Monster Vault. Inside, you will find a plethora, whether they're punched or not, of different kinds of D&D monsters. All kinds of D&D monsters. And there's also a certain type of monster in here that comes in handy if you don't use this box. Because it just does. I'll explain in a minute. I make my own, for the most part. I did buy the Monster Vault just to have things like, you need something a little bit, like if you want to show a dragon or something, you need something a little bigger. Because I usually here's what I use. I use what they call fender washers, 1-inch fender washers, and they look like this, with the hole in the middle. These are easy enough to find at Home Depot, Ace Hardware, whatever. You can buy, for about $9, you can buy a box of 100, like this. And I've gone through many a box, let me tell you. What I do is I make my own and print my own. Now, there is a program out there, if you don't want to do that. I already started before I found this program. There's a program out there called Token Tool. That's usually, it's part of a suite of things for online gaming for like Roll20 and other virtual desktops, where we can make tokens of monsters and players and whatever. And it looks something like this. It's Java based, and you'll notice there, you can enlarge it, reduce it. It's got different shapes of tokens, round ones, square ones, different types of borders, things like that. And it saves it as a graphics file, a single token graphics file, because usually people are going, okay, well, I just want to use this in my virtual table. But what you can do is take those and go into a graphics program and put them all on one page and print them out, which is what I do. I don't do this, but I do my own form of that. Let me show you what I do. I already made this before I found Token Tool. This is a token template. And if you notice, all the tokens are around the edges. There's a reason for that. If you're making tokens, you're going to use paper, because you can only punch so far into the paper unless you cut them a certain way. And you notice the borders, I just put rough lines around there. I cut those off to get to the tokens better. And these are a little larger than 1 inch. So I can place a picture in there, and since I'm using Paint Shop Pro, I'm using a layered graphics tools. So I have like them on one, I've got the background on the other. I can highlight and put it in, chop, paste, however I want to do it. And that's the way I do it. Now I print out on cardstock in full color for the most part. I mean, I made some Gangbusters stuff. I did those in black and white specifically because I wanted them in black and white because it was Gangbusters. But everything else is full color. I would go to Office Depot or Office Max or Staples or whatever and get them printed out, and then take them home and punch them out with this. This is a 1-inch punch. I like this. They have ones that sit on the desk and go ka-chunk, 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 but this is a little easier to use because I can just get it in there and go boom. You find these at places like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or someplace like that. It's about $7-8, no more than 12, I think. These are for like the scrapbookers. They use these. They have different shapes. They have different sizes. I bought the 1-inch because it works for me, and I glue them onto these. What do I use for glue? Okay, I used to use a certain type of glue, kind of like Elmer's glue. In fact, I've used Elmer's glue before, and I've done that for the majority of those. They work okay, but after a while, you better have you're going to be tossing them back in there to repair because the glue kind of, they'll come off after a while. So you end up re-gluing a lot. So I moved to super glue. Now, I don't advise everybody to use super glue on this because when I do it, I almost like, I've got nitrile gloves, surgeon's glove, disposable gloves I put on, and I use that. And I always use the gel. The gel you can control better. And all I do is put a little glue around here, put it down there, kind of square it up with my hands, and put it on a piece of paper, let them dry. Every once in a while I'll go by and move them a bit so they don't stick to the paper. But they set, they dry, they're good. Here's some that I've done. These are tokens that I made. You've seen like a ghoul, there's a zombie, wolf, giant rat, gnolls, what else we got here? Mummies, kobolds, an upside down wolf, and lizard man. So that's kind of an assortment. I've also got like orcs and trolls and all this other stuff. You notice I like using this. If you notice, like a lot of these pictures are the second edition monsters. I like it because they come in a white background. I mean, the zombie's nice, but I can mark on it and everything like that. And since it's only pennies on the dollar, I can I can bat these out real quick. I also put you put anything you want here to designate them. And that's pretty much fun. Here's what I said. Remember when I said about the Monster Vault having something handy if you didn't want to use those monsters? A lot of them come with generic monster tokens. And you notice these two are larger down here. And you flip them over when they're dead. See the blood? Also, when I do tokens, when I make tokens, I do a number of, over in the upper left corner here, I do a number of blank ones. So I can write whatever I want on them, which is really handy. I used to do that before I got these monster tokens, and I still do it once in a while just because of, I didn't bring my figure for my character. Okay, here's a blank one. You can write the name or whatever you want on there, and we'll designate it as your character. Speaking of which, I also have a special section for what I call NPCs. These are NPC tokens which can double as player character tokens if they want to use them. Most players that I played with have a thing about using a miniature for there, because somebody will always bring miniatures. Not for me, of course, but somebody will always bring a certain amount of, here, you want to use this? Here's the guy with the sword. Here's a dwarf over here, that kind of thing. But if they don't or they don't have it, these can double also as player character tokens. And mostly these are for NPCs. If you notice, remember I said where I got the pictures, the second edition monsters and stuff? If you notice, most of these are magic cards. Old collectible cards make great tokens. I don't use them for the rank and file, but I do have miscellaneous monsters in here. I want to throw. I look at it and I go, oh, I could write that up, or okay, this looks like what they're fighting, so I'll throw it down there. And so they're okay for the rank and file ones. I like to make out of the pictures, as I said, the pictures of the 2E pictures or whatever whatever you find on the web, you can use. Like I said, the token tool thing here, I just grabbed a random picture off the web and I stuck it in there just to show you how it works. Now, token tool is a JavaScript program. So you got to have Java on your computer to run it, I found out, because it's a jar file and I'm running Windows 10. So that gives you kind of an idea of what it is. Okay, organization. I had a lot of tokens now. And if you remember back then when in the other episode when I was talking about, getting things ready for cons and, what do I carry, what do I take to games, things like that. I had these with the partitions in them. Well, wasn't enough room. And I spent half my time resorting them instead of playing, and it just didn't work out. So this is my alternative. This is the Stanley Sportmaster Jr. Organizer. And once again, you find it at the hardware store. I got these at Ace Hardware. They were like $5 a piece. They average from $5 to $10. You can find them online. You can get them through Stanley. You can get them through Amazon. Anybody. And if you notice, and they're partitionable. They come with partitions however you want it. Now I got two for the monsters. I've got one blank one here, one I haven't used yet. I don't know what I'm going to use it for. It may be more tokens. I don't know. And if you notice, I took a Sharpie and labeled the categories: ogres, orcs, mummies, lizard men, blank or generics, etc., etc. And this is what it looks like. It gets to be a little heavy, and also they lock. They lock with each other. I got about three, like I said, I got about 3 of them, and I went through and reorganized everything. So I always have those. Here's what a blank one looks like. If you open it up, see the partitions in there. Those come out. You can move them around. If you can see them over the mic. There we go. And they come in really handy. And I've got that. I've got the Monster Vault for the, oversized monsters, things like that. And that's what I use. And it works out pretty well. Because, I just don't have, I don't have the inclination, I don't have the time right now, and I don't have the space to make hordes and hordes of things like orcs or something like that. But like I said, there's a lot of resources out there, and this is one of them. That's how I do things. If you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about anything else, or anything that floats your fancy, I'm at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. So until next time, bye-bye.